Hi, this is Tom Kane, the voice of Jedi Master Yoda. And this is Inside the Force. Listen, you will. Foreseen it I have, yes.
It is a period of Star Wars mania. As new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham with me, Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
And since this is an extraordinary episode of conversation, we had to bring in our very own Cody Geiler.
I'm back.
Oh, hey, here you are.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey.
Lots to dive into on this episode of Inside the Force. Huge news coming out of San Diego this past weekend. Of course, we're talking about Star Wars news. There was all kinds of stuff at Comic-Con, but way more.
This is a Star Wars show?
Yeah, way more Star Wars. All Star Wars. Way more. We did our show last week, Case, with kind of speculating what could come.
Yeah.
We got a great tweet. We got a great tweet from Nathan, who listens to us. That's kind of went through the checkbox. He's like, they must have heard you or something like that. He said,
well, we are really good at predicting things.
Yeah. He said, are we getting more Clone Wars? Check.
Yeah.
Where's all the where's all the publishing stuff? Check. Because we got a whole list of books that's coming. So we appreciate that. And and we got a lot of news to go through. So we'll just, Case, I guess we'll bounce. What we're going to do is really just bounce through all the released news and stuff like that from Comic-Con. Then we'll get into the major news, which is the return of Clone Wars.
What? So big you had to whisper.
Yeah, just shh. So anyway, Comic-Con. Okay, so what? I got a whole list of stuff here too.
All kinds of stuff. Jeez. Only movies, obviously nothing.
Right.
For Comic-Con. Really not even movie news outside of Comic-Con. Cody just mentioned before the show that Mark Hamill's growing his beard back, but
shaved it.
Didn't he?
Started growing it again.
I feel like this happens. This happened every time. Like after last Force Awakens.
Did he shave it after that?
I thought he shaved it.
He probably did.
And then grew it back, and then everybody freaks out every single time he shaves and grows it back. Anyways, nothing. Nothing new on the movies. No news.
Well, we'll say that I think they finally released. They announced not at Comic-Con necessarily, but Solo is coming on digital.
Yeah,
September 14th.
Yeah,
2 weeks later. I think the 25th is. That 2 weeks later? No.
Like a week and a half. Almost.
The 25th is the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely gonna get
I'll
that.
get both.
I'm gonna get that for sure.
Yeah,
Probably get it
For
on
sure.
digital just so I can watch it early.
I know. They get me every time. Yes, I will do that.
The bonus materials for it look pretty good.
Yeah,
Probably.
totally. Yeah, I think so.
Very little deleted scenes, probably. Because pretty much everything was in the movie.
I'm sure there's a lot of deleted scenes.
Oh yeah,
That they can't
that's
show.
that's not just deleted. That's like erased and just burned. Probably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Man, could you imagine
Legends.
watching that
Yeah,
stuff?
that's right. Well, the Solo novel, just kind of relating to it, is available September 4th.
That's right.
Man,
But like they said too, it's like the Last Jedi novel where it's expanded.
It
They'll
is.
have new content in that book, so that will be another one that you should have to read because it has. What does it say here? A lot of Kira's backstory, Han's time in the Imperial Navy, and more about the beginnings of the rebellion. So
is it going to start with a dream of Han being married and then go into the
Yeah.
like the Last Jedi novel?
anyways,
Just
Tie into that. In October, there is the comic adaptation of the movie starts. So they've been doing that for every movie now, which is pretty cool. It's usually six part issues of the adaptation. So other book news, basically Thrawn comes out tomorrow.
oh jeez,
Thrawn Alliances. I am going to be listening to that driving to
that's-
work tomorrow morning.
I like that.
Cannot wait. They mentioned at Comic-Con that Poe Dameron's comic is coming to an end, issue 31. Vader's castle is the topic coming up. There's a comic series, obviously, that's going on right now with Charles Soule, Darth Vader #2. So starting with number 23, so 18 just came out. So I would 5 more months or whatever. 23 is going to start, and that is going to dive into how Vader found the castle on Mustafar, as well as Star Wars Adventures. The comic series from IDW is doing a thing called Tales from Vader's Castle, where he's already has it, and there's stories there. The covers are really crazy looking.
This is people that have gone in and survived.
It sounds like it. It sounds like a horror series, but with Vader's castle.
He just leaves one person alive to tell the stories.
Yeah. And then you've got a really so you got novels. Finally, we got novel news.
Yes. We're still not. Just a few that I can.
2 coming out next year, basically so far.
A novel, and I'm trying to see if this is a full-fledged adult novel. Or
They are. Both of them are adult novels, I think.
the Padme one?
Oh, the Padme one may not be. I don't know.
One by Claudia Gray, awesome author, Master and Apprentice. There was not a official cover for it, but Master and Apprentice by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon.
Yes.
Yes.
Prequel novel there.
That's probably the biggest
very
one
exciting. Yeah.
that I'm excited about.
Finally.
So we're getting prequel stuff, which is great.
All this stuff is
A lot of prequel
A
stuff.
lot of prequel stuff.
Battlefront's going into prequel
Yeah.
stuff. Obviously, all these books and Clone Wars.
The other one, which again I can't see here if it's a junior novel or young, maybe a young adult novel.
I think it's a
because
young adult.
E.K. Johnston, author of Ahsoka, a
Correct.
young adult novel, is writing Queen's Shadow, which is a novel about Padme and how she goes from queen to senator.
Pumped about that too.
That one should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious because it's great that is exploring the untapped timeline, the 10-year gap.
Correct.
Which is the first time I feel like we've ever. I mean, new canon.
And that
definitely.
is that when the Qui-Gon one too is, or is it before
No,
episode
that'd
1?
Maybe before.
See, I think that's the first one that's actually canon prior to episode 1.
Yeah,
is the first material.
yeah.
Wow.
That will be the start of the timeline. That book.
Yes, that would be the first thing.
There's that Darth Maul comic though. I wonder where that lines up.
You're right. Actually, that's right before episode 1.
Okay.
That's right before episode 1. You're right, because he was trying to get. They didn't want him to get discovered.
Yeah.
So literally right before episode 1. So that is the
Well, I'm kind of imagining that this one precedes that one.
Precedes that
where
one. I
Obi-Wan's
would say
even
so.
Younger.
I would say so.
Do you think Obi-Wan's going to be like young Padawan or
Maybe. I wonder. I mean,
I bet you it spans over some time too.
they have the potential to be the first story to show Obi-Wan as a baby, as a child.
That's possible.
What planet he came from.
Yes.
they're going to reveal Obi-Wan's brother who's going to be Rey's great grandfather? No, just kidding.
Seeds.
Wasn't the long rumor a long time ago that Owen was his brother?
Owen
Did you ever hear that?
Mars?
Yes.
That's like
I don't think
a
I
really
heard
that was a
old-
long
old-
time
it's
ago.
old.
Oh, wow.
That he was possibly Obi-Wan's brother.
Huh.
Yeah. And then he gave Luke to his brother to raise. So that was a long time rumor before the prequels ever came out.
Yeah.
So Masters and Apprentice is February, I think, of 2019. And
Can we get Liam Neeson
Queen Shadow
to
is
do the audiobook?
March.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
If they haven't thought of this already,
yes, you're exactly right. They should do that for sure.
That's funny. If not him, they'll probably get James Arnold Taylor or something like that. I don't know.
it'd be interesting. I wonder whose perspective it'll be from.
But other than those books, I mean, really, I can't remember. I don't see any other books, but there's other comics. There's Star Wars: Age of the Republic.
Yeah, that
Age
looks.
of Republic.
Well, it's three different ages.
Age of Resistance, Age of Rebellion, just different eras, heroes and villains, different eras. Marvel, and they show a bit more about that Beckett comic that's coming out, but that was released a while ago. Yeah, Age of Republic, Rebellion, Resistance. I remember seeing more information about that, but I don't have it in front of me. But anyways, and they showed the covers of Vader's Castle storyline, which look awesome.
Well, starting
Like
in
all adventures
December, those Age ofs basically the description is journey through the entire saga, a 30-issue maxi series chronologizing the most iconic heroes and villains from across the galaxy. This epic Marvel comic event starts in December with Age of Republic with Qui-Gon #1 and Age of Republic Darth Maul #1.
Right.
So they're hitting on a hero and a villain basically from every era, which is pretty cool.
Those will be awesome.
Yeah.
Does it say who's writing those or who's doing the art?
It is. It does. So Age of Republic is written by Jody Hauser. So no artist listed, at least what I'm seeing. Age of Rebellion is Greg Pak, which is he was a big DC writer. Age of Resistance is written by Tom Taylor. So those are Marvel books. The other book that they mentioned, which I thought was pretty neat, was called Women of the Galaxy. Written by Amy Ratcliffe, who's a big con spokesperson writer for StarWars.com. So that description of that is basically heroes and villains, Sith and Jedi, senators and scoundrels, mothers, mercenaries, artists, pilots, the women of Star Wars Galaxy. Dives into stories and sagas forward at every level. This beautifully illustrated, fully authorized book profiles 75 fascinating female characters from across the films, comics, animations, and games, featuring Leia, Rey, Ahsoka, Iden, Jin, Rose, Maz, many more. And the forward is done by Kathleen Kennedy.
Sweet.
So
Pretty cool.
pretty great. Yeah.
I saw they were going to have Ray Sloan in there, which is kind of neat to get a little more info on her from.
Oh yeah. 75. I don't even know if I can name 75 female characters from Star Wars.
So they got to be digging deep.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those
Hopefully.
Cantina people in there
Well,
probably.
hopefully
you know?
they are pulling from the books more like Raceland. Hopefully they will bring. Like,
Yeah, I think you have to.
Snap's mom, Nora, and
Absolutely.
Joss. You know.
What's the
So-
girl
Joss
that? What's the girl that Han was apparently married to?
No.
Sana.
Sana.
Daros.
Sana.
News
Yeah.
and S.
Yeah.
Kira, probably, yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll have quite a few.
So that's a lot of the. I think that's pretty much most of all the book news that was released, which is a long list. I will mention just updated real quick on the comic side of things. This week, Afro number 22 is coming out. Lando's Double or Nothing number 3 will be out. I will briefly mention, because I know you probably guys haven't seen it or read it, but last week, the Vader Annual number 2 came out.
Oh.
And I happened to get Vader 18, and then I had it. I usually don't read annuals because they're complete side stories, and you know,
Not connected to the,
yeah. So I read number 18, which was good because it's about him and Tarkin, and it kind of stems from the book a little bit, the Tarkin novel a little bit, that kind of plays off of that. But I happened to just open up the annual one and just start diving into it, and I was like, wait a minute. Is this really happening? And I kept going and kept going. So just really throwing this out there just to you guys to think about, because it's really crazy. It's basically that book it's basically taking place. It takes place roughly around the Catalyst book.
Okay.
So it centers around the Death Star. And basically it's hinting at how Vader and Tarkin are kind of like against each other. Like they're plotting against each other, and and so, spoilers. I hope I don't. I'm just going to tell you guys because I have to. I have to tell somebody.
I think I saw an image from it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think I know what you're
So
gonna
anybody wants to skip about a couple minutes ahead, go ahead. You don't even hear this, but Vader is telling Tarkin, like, don't be proud of this technological terror. It's going to be your downfall. I mean, he said something even like it's going to be your tomb. He's like, is that a threat? And he's like, no, it's a fact. And he walks away, and then all of a sudden the next scene is Lyra, Urso, in a cave, and a droid comes up to her and says, I have a message for you. And she's like, what's the message? He's like, basically, he says, you and your husband, because she's in there collecting crystals or something. I guess she's in the Kyber. So you and your husband are helping the Empire build a super weapon. And if this thing gets completed, it's going to be the death of billions of people. and so she's this, and then the droid self-destructs, and so she runs out calling somebody saying, "I need where's Galen? Where's Galen? We need to go on the run." And so what I read was that it's Vader tipping her that about
What the heck?
because
Whoa.
in the very beginning of this comic, what caught me was that the very beginning is him approaching Scarif, and he lands on Scarif, and then somebody informs Tarkin somebody's digging into the archives, and so Tarkin goes down to the plan. So it's the Rogue One chamber.
Mm-hmm.
He walks in on Vader. He's like, "What are you doing?" And Vader says, I'm researching Stardust." And I was like, "What the?" I was reading this like, "What is going on here?"
Huh.
So Vader,
So
Vader
basically,
caused-
Vader's saying yes. So it's basically hinting that possibly Vader was, because apparently, and I never really read this the right way, but apparently he was never a fan of the Death Star.
That's how I read it when those lines that he said in Star Wars, and like hearing you just repeat
Yes.
it. Yeah,
He
don't put your faith in this, put it in the Force. kind of
exactly,
thing.
exactly. So with Tarkin putting all these resources in it, he wanted to send a
sabotaging
message to him, basically that don't put your faith in this.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I bet he would go and want to know more because, he's a curious person. He wants to have all the information he has access to, and he has access to whatever for the Empire.
Right.
But I feel like I love Catalyst. Catalyst is probably my favorite canon book of the new canon, just because how well it ties in, and I like the story. I feel like Galen is the reason why it's like the reason why Jen got that information about the Death Star and gave it to the Rebellion, the reason why the Rebellion was able to do what they did in A New Hope, and know the plans, and why Luke was able, I feel like it's because Galen wanted to change. He didn't want to be working on something that was going to be he did all that work, but I feel like he had a change of heart based on the way the book's written, the character, what I believe to know about the character of Galen. I feel like it's weird to overwrite it a year or so, 2 years later, and say that Vader tipped off his wife.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, I don't know that I buy that.
Yeah. So, okay. So I failed to remember all of Catalyst. I mean, what was the turning point? Was it ever mentioned what the turning point was?
For
I
Galen?
thought it was a growing thing. Lyra, I thought, was always
Because I think he
suspicious.
figured out the power of the crystal, and that's why he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be a bad
he
thing."
first thought that they could use the crystal for
power,
good,
the power
for
things, right?
And
Yeah.
then it was realized the power that it could be, and their work got sort of used and changed,
creating a
again.
weapon out of it,
right? And I think like Casey was saying, it was a slow build of working on this thing, working for the Empire, doing this, and thinking you're doing good, scientific research, and then all of a sudden they start using it for bad, and then he was stuck in a situation where his family was in trouble and his family was threatened, so he had to continue working on it.
Yes.
So,
See, that whole thing is just weird. Then I mean, I don't.
Well, what's weird to me is that I thought in Catalyst we saw kind of the moment where Lyra decided to really, to take her family on the run. I thought it was when she was taking on those missions, and she saw kind of what the Empire was doing to these outskirt planets.
Yeah,
and that's why she used the help of those
yeah,
bounty
that
hunters
was part of it.
to help
Yeah,
them escape. I thought
the pilot that
that pilot guy
that ended up helping the family get off of wherever they were.
I thought that was it, but then this is saying that there was an isolated incident where a robot through Vader, by proxy by Vader, is told her about the Death Star.
That's what the possibility. Now, see, when I first read it,
connects.
When I first read it, I didn't automatically connect Vader sent this droid.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, because it was a weird segment that just showed how Lyra got wind of it, and I was like, "Well, that's weird. I wonder who sent that message." I didn't connect it; that was Vader, but that's what everybody's saying, kind of online.
Oh, that's a fan thing.
But yeah, because it doesn't completely spell it out; it insinuates it. But
why include that panel in the comic that's about Vader?
Correct.
If it's not
Vader.
Yeah.
Correct. So
Interesting.
I don't know. I want to read it again because
Yeah,
I'm
I just don't know how that. I could see them making it work, but right now I don't see how it fits with what we know from Catalyst.
Because the problem is Vader wasn't doing it out of goodness.
He was just trying to
tipping
get back
him
at.
off.
He was trying to get back at
Yeah.
Tarkin somehow. Now, did he think it was going to lead to the destruction of the whole thing?
I don't think he cared, honestly.
Or Urso planting his revenge. I don't think that was the case. I don't know. I don't know.
He didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah,
I wouldn't think unless
I
he
don't think
unless he
could've
unless he foresaw
orchestrated that.
Yeah, unless he foresaw eventually
Because my only issue with it would be that it undermines Galen's
true
character
nature
development.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
his true nature, which in turn helps Jen on her journey in Rogue One. But I mean, if it's just like a little tidbit and it gave Lyra a little bit of common sense to then go and be more curious and stand up to Krennic, then it's like it kind of could fit in as long as it's not like the pivotal point that caused the information to get to the rebellion.
Right. And it's a little unclear, and to my mind, when this actually takes place. I mean, I read on here that it's around the Catalyst time, but
it has to be during Catalyst. It has to be.
I guess. I don't know.
Catalyst spans so much time.
Yeah, what part of Catalyst, though?
Because we saw Catalyst before they were even inscripted, well, before the Empire was even formed. What part of Catalyst that has to be? So she's in a cave, you said?
She's in a cave.
Didn't say what planet she was on?
No. Not that I remember. It doesn't.
I can't think. Cannot think of
I'll show you guys the comic here. But
I wonder if it was when she was on any other missions, but I can't remember if she went to any caves.
But every planet she went to was already mined for its Kybers. That's what I thought was happening. I was saying that she was upset about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the book never really states where she gets the necklace, even, right?
I can't
That's in the movie. I don't think it does.
I just can't
it
think
could
of
have been a part of that.
I can't think of a gap in time in that book where she suddenly is like, I'm totally against the work that Galen's doing, kind of a thing. 'Cause I remember there's moments where she's talking to Galen like, this is wrong. Like, we are working for the bad guys here. I feel like I remember scenes like that, but not like.
So where did she get that idea?
She was always a lot more against the Empire to begin with than Galen was.
So maybe that was the beginning of this. That's where maybe she got the idea. I don't know.
But why didn't she say, "Hey, this droid told me and blew up"? I
totally don't know. I totally don't get it.
I don't need to know that.
I don't know
details.
And she mentions Jin, so obviously Jin's alive, and I mean,
I gotta go read this now.
And Jin is when she dies, she's what, 7 or 8 or something like that when she dies, 6, 7, something like that.
5 or 6.
So some point, I don't know. And do we even know how long were they on? Leon.
Oh my gosh, Lian Yu. No, that's Arrow.
No, that's not
that's
Lian
Arrow. That's the line from Arrow. I can't remember. There's so many.
It starts with an L.
So many planets.
Anyway, I don't know how long they were hiding there until Krennic found them. But anyway, yeah. Okay. So anyway, that comic is out there. It's pretty crazy, but might want to go check that out. That's Vader number 2, annual number 2. Okay, so the big news. We got to get into that right now. Actually,
right now.
One thing before one thing.
Such a tease.
Yeah, one thing because I do want to talk about this because I heard I was listening to a podcast. Which one was it? I was listening to Full of Sith, I think. No, yeah, no. Sorry, Jedi Council.
Okay.
Which is the Collider guys, right?
Yep.
So I was listening to they were actually. I just got to the beginning of it. They were actually recording while the Clone Wars panel was going on, so they didn't even know yet. And apparently, during that panel, they get the Twitter news, and I haven't got to that part yet.
Oh wow!
But what was neat was they had a gentleman on there that was his first time on the council there. So they asked him what was his favorite movie, and he said his favorite movie was Revenge of the Sith. And the other guys are like, "No, ours is Empire Strikes Back. Why Revenge of the Sith?" And he made a great explanation and reason why. He said to me it's the one that out of all 6 movies at the time that I'm saying this is that he's like I feel like that one. It is the most complete movie, and it kind of as you see the story progress from Anakin to Vader, he's like, that's the one that kind of is the apex, is like the time when everything culminates, and then of course you have his downfall and all that. So but to me, he goes, I didn't really like 1, I didn't really like 2, but 3 was the payoff. And he's like, I loved it so much sitting in the theater. And he said it was the first time he went to a premiere, Star Wars premiere. So he saw that, the weeks before everybody else did. But the one thing he brought up that I thought was cool that I never even thought of, and honestly, I totally agree with this guy. He's like, the only disappointment I have with episode 3 is when I'm watching this in the theater for the first time, and I get exactly what I'm waiting for. I get Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and he goes and starts hunting Jedi. He's like, the best scene I've ever seen is him walking into that temple with all those clones, right? He goes, but the next thing I see is him walking into a room, bunch of younglings. He's like, why didn't I get him taking down Jedis? He's like, that would have been the best thing I would.
That's true.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I ever thought of that.
No.
Yeah.
We see it in the hologram,
Yeah.
barely, when they look up the security thing.
Yeah.
But how crazy, awesome would that have been if we would just seen him like taking out a dozen Jedis? I mean,
Especially if they shot it like the end of Rogue One.
Yeah.
oh my god,
Just holding people
where he's just
around,
like choking them and throwing
Who
them.
is this guy?
I mean-
force lightning on it. If he was doing it at that point.
So,
Do you think it was the first thing I thought of though is it possibly a ratings thing? Would that have may have been an R rating?
I mean,
I don't know. If he just starts massacring people,
George Lucas said he made it for 12-year-olds. So
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I mean, they barely showed him. I mean, they showed him killing all the Trade Federation guys in that room.
Yes,
It's like really all the
but they're all
massacring they did.
aliens.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's all we saw of him. Yeah, if he's just like
That's right.
sticking sabers through people.
Yeah,
and
see, doing
chopping
that in
off
the
heads.
temple, I don't know if that would have. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought he made a great point. I was like, wow, it never crossed my mind watching the movie that I wanted to see that scene, but I actually want to see that scene.
what if we get something in episode 9, like either somehow Anakin Force Ghost talking to Kylo, or he's digging up like holocron footage, and he sees it, and he
man,
thinks
dude.
that he's finishing his work, and then Anakin comes to him and explain,
Wouldn't that be
a little
really
bit of
cool?
like explanatory, like, hey, you're doing it wrong, blah blah blah. But you get like a little glimpse
Yes.
of Anakin going ham on a bunch of Jedi.
If we got like a force back, a Kylo force back,
Yeah.
and they just reshoot a little
They
bit of
see
that.
it?
You get Hayden,
This
just
is-
reshoot him.
Oh my
This is
god!
Do it a
good.
little bit,
This is really good because
Why
honestly,
not at this point? We just said it, so
Yeah.
why not do it?
Ray,
Yeah, why not?
Ray force backing the lightsaber. To
Yeah.
be totally honest, the reason why Kylo in Force Awakens says, "Show me again, grandfather. Show me the power of the darkness or dark side," whatever he says. Why would he say again? Unless
if
he'd
he
already
didn't
seen
show him something?
Like-
when he touches the helmet
yeah.
on Endor or wherever he finds it,
Ah,
maybe he's already had a force back, and we're
Yeah.
going to get another one.
Maybe.
wow! I didn't even think
That'd be
about
really
that.
cool. Yeah, man, seeing Hayden.
Dang!
That'd be so awesome.
Just get Hayden to do something.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's got to be in it.
he's got to be in it. Anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there. So let's get to the meat of what this whole Clone Wars saved. So, of course, everybody knows by now that the Clone Wars is coming back. It's returning in 2019 on the Disney streaming service, which we don't have even a launch date for that, but it's probably somewhere fall of 2019 is the speculation.
I hope it's sooner.
I do hope it's sooner. But, Celebration is coming in April as well, so we're going to get a ton of information from there.
Oh, first episode of the new Clone Wars.
I guarantee it. You're exactly right. So before we dive into main topics of what we're going to get, I wanted to take us a little back. Take us
7
back.
years? No, more now. 10 years. Sorry, 10 years.
10 years was when the show aired first in October of 2008. But just briefly, if you can, just think of the old series or whatever, the first run of the series or whatever. What are your most fondest and best memories of the series so far? Like, why did you love it so much? Whoever's first.
I mean, it's the characters for me. The clones were great, but the clones weren't my favorite part. Honestly, they were awesome, but I just always, just probably like a lot of people, I loved all the Jedi and Force episodes. Like the Ghost of Mortis will always be talked about,
right?
And always be on my list of favorite episodes, just because of how interesting and how much more I want to know from those episodes. But all the arcs with involving Mandalore, I thought we were at Satine and Obi-Wan were great. Of course, the Maul stuff was great, but so my favorite part, it's all about the Clone Wars, but I always loved the Jedi centric episodes.
Absolutely.
There's probably like two things that stand out to me. One of them is kind of like Casey. It's the fact that you get these moments with Jedi that are it's like what they showed in the prequel trilogy, but you get episodes with like Kit Fisto, where he's there's like whole episodes about him like in this battle, and you see like this different like underwater stuff, and it's just like world building, expanding. I also really love the stuff where they're like more Coruscant. That's kind of like how in episode 2 when they like go to the streets and Anakin and Obi-Wan are going after Zam. That kind of stuff in the Clone Wars was really cool to see, like when Ahsoka goes and like loses her lightsaber and stuff, and she goes to like the underworld. That whole side of it was really cool. I just blanked, but I just like a lot of the ways that they were allowed you to like dive into some of those characters.
Yeah, totally. Now, did you both? I know you did, right? You watched it as the series was being released, or did you?
It was where was it originally coming out?
Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Because I remember it was like Friday nights sometimes, wasn't it?
I think
it changed it.
It changed it a lot.
Yeah, because it was hard to watch it when it aired. But I remember being like into it for a while, and then there were certain moments when it would come out, and then I would just binge through. Yeah, like before they had it streaming, like I'd just get a DVD of it or whatever.
Right.
Watch the ones that I hadn't seen.
Yeah, I'm actually. I started going through it again a few weeks ago, or about a month ago. I was like, I'm just gonna just start watching it again, just in chronological order, the way that they listed the new chronological order. Because did you know it was kind of out? The first couple seasons are actually just different. It's not in order.
I've heard that. I haven't gone back. I probably should, now that they're going to release more episodes, go back and watch it this way.
Yes, and it makes complete sense. Because I remember watching it as the season was going on, and I'm thinking like, what? That took place like last season.
Well, really the first 5 episodes, it's all about Christophsis.
Yes.
Like the first 2, then you watch the movie. And then you go back into the show or something.
And then you get into the first episode, which is the Yoda one.
Yeah.
Like that was the very first episode, but that actually isn't like it's like the 5th episode.
Yeah. I think
in order.
Christophsis, I feel like was like season 2. I forgot
what there was one episode of season 3. I think I'll tell you the order.
Well, basically, the start of the Battle of Christophsis was in Clone Wars, in like season 1 later on, or at the beginning of season 2.
The what is it?
Christophsis, the Battle of Christophsis. There's like a 2-parter.
The Battle of Christophsis. Do you mean the movie?
The movie's the end.
Yes, correct.
Of Christophsis.
So the very first episode is season 2, episode 16. Is the first chronological. It was called Cat and Mouse.
Yeah.
And then season 1, episode 16 is episode 2.
Yeah.
And then the movie.
Because the Cat and Mouse is them going to Christophsis.
Correct.
Bail is on Christophsis.
That's right.
He's getting help. He wants help. So they're trying to get there. And there's that ridiculous, crazy spider general guy.
Yes.
And then they have a little fight there. And then they get to the planet and fight. And then suddenly
the movie happens.
Yeah, but they go to the next episode, season 2. Like it's totally different.
It's totally different. Yeah, they just dropped that episode called Cat and Mouse in the middle of season 2, and you're like, "This is the movie. This is setting up the movie."
Yeah,
it's so weird why they did that. But anyway,
they need a way to sort it on Netflix so you can
sort it. I totally agree.
Just re-releasing,
reorder it. Yeah, reorder it. I don't care.
That would be awesome. I'm gonna have to check this out though.
But I did that. I started I'm all the way down here in the middle of season 3 now, where it gets a little mixed up too, because it goes from. Do you remember? So the last episode of season 1. Episode 122 was Hostage Crisis.
Yeah.
When Bane takes over the Senate building because he's trying to free Zero the Hutt. Mm-hmm. So Zero gets captured in the movie. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of season 1, all of a sudden this episode pops in. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay. But then all of a sudden when the season comes back in episode 2, it's Holocron Heist. Mm-hmm. It's Bane, but it's nothing to do with Zero.
Yeah.
You're like, what the what? So
I do remember the first season. Like, I mean, even the movie, it's kind of clunky is probably a good word for it. I love the whole series, but like
I do too.
Ahsoka, even as a character, like at first you're just like, why is she calling Anakin Sky Guy? And like, what is this all about? Anakin didn't have a Padawan. Like all these things that you're thinking through in canon, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. But then like by the end of it, like I love Ahsoka, and like I hated seeing like her spoilers. Well, I mean at this point, it's been out for a while. Hating seeing her leave the Jedi Order, and like now, like as a character, you're like, you see how far she's come in Rebels.
I know.
It's just like they did a amazing job of taking a character that you watched her in the movie. And some people are like, who in the world is this? Right. To like now you feel for her. And I'm like, that's a testament to how good this whole series is.
She spanned 2 series and a book.
Oh, she's very popular now.
She's going to be.
She's huge. She's very popular.
And, I mean, they did an amazing job, and
and she's still alive.
Yeah, so should be in a 3rd series coming up, hopefully.
Filoni's trilogy of animation.
Hopefully,
yeah. So I'm at the middle of. I started 3, which weird because it goes 305, 306, 307, 302, 304. So I did 308, which is Evil Plans, and then that sets up Hostage Crisis, which is 122, and then 309 is Hunt for Zero. So I'm in that arc right now. So I'm about halfway through. But my fondest memories of it is easily very similar to Casey. I'm drawn by Star Wars by mainly the Force stuff and Jedis and to see the Jedi at their height and this the whole premise of the entire, because again, the Clone Wars was just a line in the original movie. And it took this, I mean, just think over the years, you just had visions of what the Clone Wars were, and now you got to see it. And it was, to start, I got to admit, it was very kid-centric. I felt like it was very young and safe. But as the seasons went on, it just got more brutal, and
it gets deep.
It gets dark.
Sometimes.
It gets
deep.
They
have
and the animation changes too.
It does. It gets better. So
the lighting in it is really good, especially in the Netflix season, the last one that came out.
I mean, every time we went, because celebrations were pretty much every other year during it, and we went, and there was always a premiere, or there was always, and it just looked better and better every time. And so, and it ended, we talked about it for years on here. It never truly ended. The series never ended. It got bought during the last season of season 5 as it was airing. They released the Lost Missions that were 13 episodes of what was season 6. We got Dark Disciple. We got a couple comics. We got animatic stuff that we were talking about before the show. So after all that, after a whole series, 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels, it is now coming back. So now, as they're doing the panel there, as everybody knows by now, it wasn't even an inkling until the last 10 minutes of this panel. Did you see it yet?
I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They've got some decent versions.
Somebody's got some front row things.
One version on YouTube looks better, has worse audio. One looks worse, has better audio. I chose the better audio one because I wanted to hear what they're saying.
Yes. Yeah. So Filoni basically says at like 10 minutes, he says, so, as it's been 10 years, I wanted to say thank you. And so I have a present for you, and here it is.
He's so coy about it. He starts
I know.
He starts looking down and holding his head like, I got a way to say thank you. And then he shows his trailer and hey, it's coming back.
He's so smug.
And it's still a little hidden in the trailer because it starts off with all this audio from the series.
They had to have known what it was.
Well, I don't know, because people were cheering, and then you're like, okay, you're settling in, and it's just a shot of these helmets, right?
Yeah.
You've seen the trailer, but then all of a sudden when it says a war left unfinished until now, it's people went crazy in there. And then of course you get the new shots and all this stuff. So what do you think of the new shots and the what you saw in the trailer?
The first thing I saw online was the hashtag Clone Wars saved, and I was just like, what?
I know, me too.
What does that mean? And then I had to go watch the trailer. I mean, as soon as it like flies in and you see Anakin and that clone from the Bad Batch, I think is what he's standing by. I forget his name.
And Rex.
It's like you see Anakin, you see the animation's a little different, but like as soon as you're like flying in with the clone gunship in the like new part of the trailer, you're like, oh my gosh, this is new footage. And then like Anakin looks a little different. He looks closer to how he does in Revenge of the Sith, which is really cool. And that was the other thing about I just remember what I blanked on for the Clone Wars series overall. Like it's a really good way to relate and just see more of Anakin, because in the prequel trilogy, you get him as, sort of this protagonist after episode 1. I mean, he's a kid in episode 1, but then episode 2 and 3, you're really following his fall of the dark side. But there's that whole gap where you don't get to know him or his relationship with Obi-Wan, and like that bond really grows a lot in the Clone Wars. And I feel like that's the fun thing to see both of them again on screen. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the shots that always stuck out to me and still do is, Anakin looking a lot like Hayden. Like he's got the sunken eyes, got the long hair, the outfit, and then especially Obi-Wan as episode 3 Obi-Wan, which is super cool.
Yeah, they dropped the armor off of him.
Yeah, like let's just not wear our armor for this last battle.
Yeah.
We don't need it. It's a little dirty. But and then Ahsoka, and then as soon as we saw Ahsoka, I kept thinking like, holy crap, this is I forgot the name of it. This is the Siege of Mandalore. This is what we got from the Ahsoka novel. It has to be. Like,
has to be.
And we're gonna see Maul. We're gonna see it just got me so hyped up for what I believe we're about to see.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yeah, I did the same thing with you. I saw Clone Wars saved, and I immediately grabbed you out of the hallway and said, "Come here, man, come here," because I knew there was a trailer.
Stop what you're doing.
Because we had just said that last week. Like they would. There's no reason to do this panel unless you were revealing something.
Yeah.
Like there's something, because you don't do a 10th anniversary panel just to say, 10 years ago,
look at all the cool stuff we did.
To remind everybody it was cut short.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm with you. I think maybe saying, "Oh, we've got some more stuff we finished," but to actually say we're finishing the series, like that's, which we'll get into in a second. But but as far as the trailer goes, I think I'm curious. I thought about it more and more today. I was like, obviously when she turns around, Ahsoka, and says, "Master, it's been a while."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm wondering, is that for the trailer just to say it's been a while since we've done Clone Wars, or is that actually in this? You know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying there.
Because she's saying it's been a while because it's been a while. It's been 5 years since we had something.
It's like the Han Solo we're home thing.
Exactly. Yes.
It's like, I see what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with it. They put
or Laura Santeca at the beginning saying this will make things right.
Yeah, okay.
I love those lines. Well, it's like they use the music in the Clone Wars trailer. That's very similar to the music in the second Force Awakens trailer, and it's this sort of building Force theme, and it's just like the most epic Star Wars music that you can use, and I'm obsessed with it now. I have been for a while, but it's like when that happens, I'm just like, regardless of what you feel about Last Jedi, differences, things you like, things you didn't like, there's things I like and didn't like about it. It's like they're doing all these things for fans to be like, look, we still got you, regardless of how everybody feels. People yelling at each other online, getting upset. It's like, we all love Star Wars, and like these are the reasons why for things like this. Like, it just makes me so excited.
I know.
It's kind of hopefully I feel like it's going to bring some fandom back together in this whole push towards Episode 9, because it is divided for whatever reason. Just since things that have happened in the online community.
There are so many people out there that don't want to give Clone Wars, never gave Clone Wars a chance, and still really won't because of its animation. But like a lot of people don't realize, and I read this on a tweet, probably from Pablo or Leland Chi, but basically what George Lucas did with the Clone Wars, the amount of time and years he put into it, the amount of content he produced, is way more than the movies.
It is.
Movies. So like
You're right.
6 seasons that he did blows the 6 movies out of the water in terms of length and time of how much you put into that production. And so like
Clone Wars, counting all the unfinished stuff.
Yeah, so Clone Wars takes up a bigger chunk. I mean, now you got 10 movies, but so I don't know how it compares now, but like at the time, the Clone Wars is like way above, like it should, like it's got so much more canon, so much more material there, where it should be as highly regarded as the movies.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Fans.
So you know, and then another thing we were talking about, you saw maybe was they released a poster, kind of, you know, that had the clone helmet there, the kind of orangish, brownish colored, which had a familiar logo on it. Now I completely, I'm the big Star Wars geek I am. I can't believe I think I missed this. But what looks to be on it, right, is the symbol of Ahsoka. The tattoo that's on Ahsoka is the tattoo that's on the helmet, right? And it's very similar, if not exactly, the symbol of Fulcrum.
Yeah.
So why didn't I put that together when I first saw the symbol of Fulcrum?
That it's
To say that was going to be Ahsoka?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
did anybody call that? Or I don't remember.
Not the symbol, but
You know what I'm saying?
when the voice was being used, there were a lot of people speculating and talking online about breaking down the voice and hearing Ashley Eckstein's voice in there somewhere. And I remember that before they revealed it was something that was talked about. But I mean, I didn't call it or pick up on it or anything. No. But yeah,
That's good. That's good.
So I'm going to Clone Wars say, because the symbol for so the poster, right, has that on there, right? That's what's on Ahsoka's head, right? See the tattoo right there?
Her face.
And then the fulcrum symbol is that. Right?
Yeah.
So it's on her forehead, basically.
that's right. It's there on her forehead the whole time.
The whole time, right? So roughly.
I mean, yeah, it's.
And she is the first, I think we learned, she is the first fulcrum.
Yeah, she started that with Bale.
From the novel, yeah. So man, why did I put that together?
That's like how I felt, like with the whole Maul thing in Solo. It's like, gosh, I wish I had I wish I had logic my way into that.
Yeah, from the beginning, like right when she says the fighting style.
Yeah.
Like that's what that's the way he fights.
Yeah.
That's his fighting style. So you should have known that.
I don't think anybody would have called that.
Idiot.
No, I don't think anybody did. That was completely
left
out.
field.
So the only thing we do know is obviously, yes, we know it's coming on the streaming service, but all they've said is that it's coming with 12 new episodes. So two things I want to talk about right now is, for one, are they is it the 12 last episodes or is it just 12 new episodes, for one, and then get into a little bit of, okay, what are these 12 going to be about? And are we going to get the previous animatic episodes fully done or changed? So speculate. The last 12, or
I think
just
it's
the beginning
last 12. No,
Do you really?
I think it's it. I think this is tying everything up that he wanted to.
I don't think 12 is enough.
Well, no, probably not. But no, probably was more. But I think this is the 12 that's ends the actual Clone Wars that were close to, bumps up to Revenge of the Sith. I think it culminates in the Siege of Mandalore. I think it has to, which basically bumps up right to.
That's during episode 3.
because they that's why they can't. They have to go rescue the Chancellor.
They got to rescue the Chancellor.
So
we might see something happening at the same time as episode 3.
I think you have to. I think
that would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Maybe at the very end of the season, you see the Empire, like Ahsoka. I don't know. Sees
because there was things with panels at Celebration where Filoni talked about how the series was supposed to lead into episode 3, but then also go beyond episode 3.
Yeah,
with Order 66, because that's later on in episode 3. So Order 66, and then of course things that happen with Boba Fett that are later. Do you think that we talked about those a little bit? Do we get the Boba Fett, Cad Bane,
the unfinished episode they showed us?
Yes.
12 episodes. That's a lot.
I know. That's why I said 12 is not enough.
It's a lot to where I feel like
it's hard though.
Besides the Siege of Mandalore, what else would you need to tie up? And you might get a few.
But the Siege of Mandalore, the thing about Siege of Mandalore is no one. I mean, I know that's mentioned in the novel, but I don't know, because we don't know. Like Maul, so Maul at the end of the Clone Wars part that he's in, he gets captured by Palpatine. And then there's the comic Son of Dathomir that's from the Clone Wars that would have been in episodes of the Clone Wars, shows how he's being tortured by Dooku and all that stuff, and he escapes. Now, from there, the only mention of him before Solo is the Ahsoka novel, which we find out that he was involved in going back to Mandalore and I don't know if he takes it over or he's just trying to take it over, and then the clones are coming with Ahsoka to stop him.
I think that it said that he does take it over, but
I think that whole battle is him trying to take it over.
Okay.
And then Rex and Ahsoka come in to stop him. And of course, obviously he escapes because he ends up in Solo, right? Ends up starting Crimson Dawn and whatnot.
I'm sure we'll get a tease to Crimson Dawn into his end, not just his end with Siege of Mandalore and maybe him versus Ahsoka. That'll be a huge episode. But they're gonna.
Yeah, because they skip over that in the novel. They don't really actually go into details of what happened.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll start to, now that they have the luxury of teasing, unless the stuff was finished before Solo was done.
Well, that's what we talked about, Cody. Is now they could possibly throw in, like you mentioned, what if we see a young Caleb Doom,
a little
in
Padawan
this,
just walking around the
We
Jedi
could.
Temple?
Now you can do that. Now you have
That was one of my.
characters that didn't used to
So that was
exist.
one of my things. Is does he now go backwards and introduce rebel characters at all
I think
into
that's
this?
totally. Well, I think Caleb Doom would be the only
that would
one
be
you
awesome.
could do.
Well, if you're going Mandalore, why couldn't you see Sabine's parents?
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah?
Her mom,
Concord,
her
Dawn,
brother.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Maybe her brother wouldn't be alive. I don't know. She's not alive yet. I
No,
don't think.
she's same age as
Well, actually,
so,
she'd
right?
be born around this time.
Born by-
yeah,
see that.
she wouldn't be
Little
around
baby
yet.
Sabine.
But her mother would definitely be in there.
I think that would
probably.
be great. I mean, I think that's the perfect way to tie in this stuff, and you get the luxury of going back and using characters that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, when do
Exactly.
you get to do that?
But Zeb is. I don't know if he's.
I don't
age.
see.
I don't think you don't see.
I think Sabine, the House of Ren. I think you can see that clan. I think that's logical. That's logical. Caleb Doom would be great. Like you see him in the temple or something, like a little cameo. That's all. I can
That would
think.
be awesome.
I mean,
Or
do you
his
think they'll
master,
do a whole
yeah.
Order 66? Like, because if Siege of Mandalore happens and Order 66 happens and we see the ending of the Clone Wars, could there be, like, moments where, like, you go from Ahsoka and some of our main characters to some of these other clones, and
I
you
think
see
you-
Caleb Doom and his master in Order 66
I
happening?
definitely think
Like
you could.
basically like another montage, like we saw. in
It's
Revenge of the
similar
Sith.
to, Revenge of the Sith.
Well, I
but
think you
from the
have to.
extended.
I think you have to explain because I don't think they fully explained how Rex and Wolf
survive.
Gregor, all those
survived
guys,
and Gregor. Why they, how they discovered their chip.
That's one of the storylines. That's the thing. Like he's got to tie up the Ahsoka line. He's got to tie up the Rex storyline. Maybe Boba Fett storyline. But yeah, I think we definitely see. I think we do see Order 66.
I do think- I think we
You
do
see
too.
Ahsoka,
I mean,
from
that-
Ahsoka's point of view, from Rex's point of view, you see how it
That's
happens.
the end
yeah.
of the Clone Wars, so
Yeah.
that really would be the
'Cause
last
maybe it's-
episode.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's
Probably.
Ahsoka that saves Rex, and maybe that's why
Has-
he's
has
so
that-
devoted to her.
Has that already been talked about
No.
at all?
I think so.
The only thing that has been talked about, again, it's not canon because Filoni talked about it in at Celebration that the wolves, the big wolves, like they were they were going to be introduced in the Clone Wars, and Ahsoka, wherever she was when Order 66 happened, they were still going after her, like they were still trying to hunt her down.
The wolves?
No, the clones.
I was very confused.
And
for a
she
second.
jumps and she uses the wolves to escape.
They weren't like so force. I don't think
No.
they were like really big.
I think they were
don't
just
know.
really big wolves
Yeah.
that he was putting into the, and so there was animatics of that, not animatics, but there were drawings of her
concept art or something.
concept art riding these wolves and escaping because the trees were real big and the wolves were real big. But for some reason, the clones still targeted her as a Jedi, even though she left the Order. But this was after the whole battle with Maul, because you remember Order 66 takes place a little while after the end of the Clone Wars, right? Or right after, from
Like
from the
2
beginning,
days, like a day
from the
or two,
beginning
yeah.
of the Battle of Coruscant there to Order 66, there's some time that happens there.
That's going to be awesome. How is Rex going to avoid Order 60? I mean, that's going to be such a cool episode.
I know.
I mean, they wouldn't go after him, I guess, unless he starts fighting some stormtrooper or some clones.
I have a feeling. I just obviously because him and Ahsoka are so tied together in Rebels, I feel like she has a hand in saving him or preventing that, and then he obviously might fight back and kill some clones defending her and stuff like that.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that's
I gotta watch the episode in Rebels where they introduce Rex and the other clones again, because he talks about the chips
He
in
does.
their heads, and I gotta hear what he says again, because he mentions.
I agree.
Does he mention the Siege of Mandalore with Ahsoka, like fighting beside her?
The Siege of Mandalore is mentioned in Rebels. I can't remember where, but
I
it
feel
is
like
mentioned
Rex
somewhere.
says something about it, because I've heard of that, like title of the battle from something. Maybe just from reading.
Well, I mean,
it.
Rex probably goes after Ahsoka. They probably fight a little bit. Maybe she
gosh.
just knocks him in the head. I don't know. Really hard.
yeah,
Fries the-
maybe.
Fries the chip.
I feel like
don't know.
one of the clones, because I can't remember which Fives or who figured out who had the
I
chip
can't remember if it's
malfunction.
Echo or Fives or.
I think it was Fives.
Fives.
But
feel
see
like-
that I want to watch that again. I want to
Yeah.
get to there because that's in the Lost missions.
I feel like one of the clones could maybe also be a part of saving Rex and the other ones that make it out. Like one of them
possible.
figures out, and then some of them are like in the process of Order 66, and it's. I mean that's just gonna
Well,
be awesome.
well, he was going down that road with those episodes. He was introducing the fact that there were some bad ones, and some miscommunication ones, and they were starting to some of them were starting to figure out that something's wrong. So I think he was going down that road, and that's maybe Rex is one of the ones that figures it out. So hopefully, obviously, he survived. So, I just let's see what else I wanted to talk about. Do we get? I mentioned, do we get the unfinished episodes?
I don't think we get the animatics. I think they're gonna leave that in the. I'll just leave that alone.
Well, I think they become non-canon, though. I
Yeah.
think they
Yeah,
completely
that's-
get disregarded now that the series is going to be over.
I feel
and
like
completed.
they'll take parts like the Bad Batch is like I don't know how many episode arc, but you saw one of the clones from the Bad Batch in the trailer. I think they're going to pull from and make some new storylines out of it. They'll probably use some of the the animations they made for it because it'll just help them budgetary reasons to be able to make it. But like the Crystal Crisis stuff, I don't see that fitting in to this ending of the Clone War. The Boba Fett and Cad Bane thing, I kind of want to see that.
I definitely want to see
I
that.
don't see how it fits to the end of the Clone War. So, if you have to think about, if I want 12 episodes, I want them to focus on Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, Siege of Mandalore with the clones and Maul, and maybe some more setup stuff with the clones and some of how how they figure out about the chips. But because 12 episodes just isn't a lot of time to do a couple droid spinoff episodes.
No, I don't think you get any of that. I mean, none of these can be any kind of throwaway, what they call them sometimes, right? Throwaway episodes where
Because the Boba
That's
Fett
why-
stuff wouldn't be throwaway because people like the character, but it wouldn't tie into the overall story.
No.
Right.
Which I don't know if they would do or not.
Well, that's the question is, most shows have an overall story. What is actually the overall story of this of the series?
It's always.
What is the overall story?
I mean, Ahsoka. It's Ahsoka's story.
I think it's Ahsoka and Anakin.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's how it started. But the movie, that's how it started.
So
Anakin gets a Padawan, right?
Anakin is going to meet back up with Ahsoka, right? I mean, based on that one little part in the trailer. I don't know if
I don't
it's
know
been
how
said,
much.
because Siege of Mandalore, I don't know timeline exactly where we're at, but does that ever overlap with beginning of episode 3?
It's during the same time.
Like the first, like the Battle of Coruscant. Yeah, it's the Siege of Mandalore is happening at the same time practically as.
Did the
Battle of
Ahsoka novel
Coruscant.
ever say that they have to leave to go?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the novel, what I remember the novel, see that's what's so what you see in the trailer, the hologram, I think that's a precursor. I don't think that's actually. I think they're talking about what's happening, but in the novel, they're actually. See, I gotta remember this correctly, but I think in the novel, basically they're face to face. Anakin and Ahsoka meet up, and he's explaining to her, "I wish I can go with you, but I have to go save the Chancellor." And I'm giving you Rex, and I'm giving you, I think they call him the 553rd. Is that group? You guys are in charge of going and saving Mandalore from Maul, but I've got to go do this. So they have a face-to-face conversation.
It's going to be
in the
so
book.
emotional. I'm honestly getting emotional
Yeah.
thinking about when Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Temple and Anakin. That scene
It's
is
unbelievable.
probably one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, like movies, books, comics, everything. I mean, it's
And
so
they
good.
replayed it at the panel. Did you
Oh,
see
yeah,
that?
Yeah, I remember.
They set it up like this is how we left it.
Yeah.
And that, again, when I played, I'm like, you're doing something, man. You are setting something up, making us making us remember this ending.
Yeah.
But to me, that is the story. I think, she leaves the order. I think it shows, I think what we would have gotten, and maybe we're going to get that, I think we're going to see the effects of Anakin, of how that, what transpired because of her leaving. Like, I mean, it wasn't her just deciding that it wasn't for me. I mean, she got blamed for something. She got framed for something, and no one came to her defense.
Yeah, she saw
You know
the
what I mean?
fault. She saw the flaw. in
Correct.
her.
Anakin was the only one who did.
Yeah, in a way. I mean,
He tried.
He tried,
did try, but yeah.
but she had to basically save herself.
Right.
And when she finally got cleared, she said, I can't come back. I can't do this anymore. I've got to walk away. And when she did that, I think, for one, obviously we didn't know the series was going to be canceled necessarily. We thought something was going to change because now Lucas, it was going to either switch to Disney is what I thought right away. Okay, it's not going to be on Cartoon Network anymore. It's going to be on Disney. But when they canceled it, it was like, whoa, this thing's far from over. And you can tell he was well into season 7 when this thing got done. So that's why I'm thinking that 12 is not. I think there's going to be. I think they would have said the final episodes if it was not going to be.
The only thing they said that was close to that was the little text in the trailer that said a war left unfinished
until now. ...
until now.
But until now doesn't necessarily mean one season.
You're right. I mean, I would love more than one
because Star Wars hasn't said this, but everybody that I've read is calling this season 7. Mm-hmm. Like they're not saying the final season; they're saying season 7 of Clone Wars. So it's like, okay, do we get 7, 8, 9, and then you know what I mean? And maybe because it's streaming service, I feel like it's like Netflix where all 12 are going to come out at once.
Yeah.
It's not going to be every week like it used so you get 12 episodes.
That's how they did the Lost Missions, right? On Netflix.
Well, I think it was Blu-ray first, and then it eventually came on. No, you're right. It was Netflix.
I think it was all Netflix.
I think it came on Netflix.
Okay.
And it was all at once, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm saying. The season, normally we'd be getting on television, you get 20, 22 episodes. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to get 12. And then I really think it's possible they're going to just see how it goes. Like, do people really like this? Well, I don't know.
Well, the Disney streaming service is perfect for this kind of
thing.
It is. Because they don't have to answer to ratings now. The problems you had at Cartoon Network, the problems you had with Disney XD, and the problems that Resistance could face are ratings, but I don't know if that will migrate over to the streaming service. I mean, Filoni's, if he doesn't continue Clone Wars or if he does make more than one season, his last, I still think he's got a trilogy to tie up Ahsoka's story in the sequel era. But that thing, he's going to be able to do it how he wants for the first time because he won't be bound to ratings and those kind of issues. As long as, it goes well and, the budgets stay what they need to be. Because that was the problem, I think, with Clone Wars, right? It went over budget for a while.
Yeah. I think they had to scale.
Budget,
that's why some of the episodes they had to scale back and not do a lot of animation decisions because of budgets. So.
Maybe by making 12, they're able to do
focus
it the way
more.
they want to, like not be limited, like you're
right.
saying.
And then since you're doing a streaming service, now these are half-hour episodes, right? Maybe they're longer episodes.
That would be nuts.
That's
right?
interesting.
Maybe they're 40-minute episodes.
Could be.
That would be
I didn't
nuts.
think about that, but yeah.
Because you were tied to commercial breaks, so you're only getting 22 minutes an episode. Well, now it's like maybe they're 12 episodes, but maybe they're double in length now. We don't know that.
That'd be amazing.
So if that's the case, now so I may take it back. If that's the case, if they're longer, it may be the final season.
Yeah.
Maybe it. If you're getting 12 40-minute episodes,
yeah, that's a whole season.
That's a whole season.
The only thing with, I guess so. If it isn't longer and this isn't the final one, does that Siege of Mandalore happen in this?
I don't know.
Season? Because why would it be?
It could set it up. It could set it up.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It just ends with.
That would be awful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But okay. So last thing we talk about is, in your opinion, now that you know, so because that's the thing is like now that you know where he went with on Rebels, Filoni, that is, he got tasked with the showrunner, the head creative of Rebels. he was working for Lucas, when he did the Clone Wars the first time, right? Now he's not. He's it. Now, for one, do you think Lucas had an ending to that series that he is fulfilling, or is he creating his own ending? And then on top of that, oh man, what was the other thing I was going to say? Well, just go with that one first.
Mm-hmm.
Is
this his ending? Or
is this his ending, or did Lucas have an ending? Is this his ending? Oh, and then, in your opinion, what is the ending of the series? Like, what should the ending be? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you wrap this up? Besides just because obviously the easy answer is it butts right up to episode 3. The next shot is episode 3. But if you're trying to go into that, if you're trying to close out the stories that are in this series, what is that?
Well, my first reaction would be you start with what is the Clone Wars, like what it's about. We talked about it's Anakin and Ahsoka's story. So I got to think that him coming to either meet with her one last time and or the Siege of Mandalore happening is somewhere around the last episode or 2 of the new season or of the whole series. And then, you got to think that it's somehow related to the clones in Order 66. But I feel like because Star Wars is always this story of hope and rebellion, and even though when something bad happens and like oppression hits, that there's still always like a spark. Last Jedi, what Luke was, a spark of hope. There may be like this sense of the Siege of Mandalore happens, maybe they're even winning the battle or whatever. Order 66 happens, there's chaos everywhere, clones, turning on everybody. Maybe we get a montage, maybe we don't. Somehow Ahsoka saves Rex, or Rex saves other clones or whatever. But then there's probably going to be some kind of resolution of like, it probably just becomes Ahsoka's ending. Like she probably is the resolution to Clone Wars because she ties together to the next show of helping the rebellion being Fulcrum. Right. So I feel like that's like logically where it has to end is with, it doesn't end with death and destruction with Order 66 and all these, the end of a war that didn't end well at all.
Right.
But maybe Ahsoka does see the Empire starting. Maybe it does. I don't know if it flashes forward a little bit. Rebels did that.
I totally agree with that.
So, but I don't know where in the timeline it ends, but I think it is something with Ahsoka.
Yes.
Her resolution, but it's not over. The war's not done. She's just moving on to her next thing, which is going to end up being to help the rebellion.
So you don't think this ends after the timeline of episode 3? You think this ends before that?
No, I think her resolution would be after episode 3.
Her resolution.
I think episode 3 will likely be during sometime in the climax because if you've got to have Anakin leave Ahsoka, that sounds like that'd be the only way to do it. And then if Order 66 and the whole how the clones survive whatever happened there, that probably has to be seen on screen at some level. So then her resolution, maybe it's the end of an episode or probably not a whole episode, maybe just the very end of an episode is sort of her post Order 66.
So do you think any of this was George's idea? Or do you think it's all Filoni?
I would say the way...
Because Filoni bringing Ahsoka and the Rebels was all him, obviously.
If it ends with Ahsoka, and it really does end with this story of her sort of jumping towards like Rebels and like going that way, it's totally Filoni. But I mean, Order 66 is George's idea.
Correct.
And I don't know about the idea of like clones surviving. I feel like, I don't know if that came from George or not. I kind of feel like it didn't.
I'm not sure it did.
So like the idea of Rex and them surviving, it didn't.
Yeah, I think that was Filoni trying to close up his storylines that he wasn't able to finish. I felt like bringing Ahsoka in, bringing Rex in, those are storylines he couldn't finish, so Rebels was a way to do that.
Yeah. So
I don't think it was ever really intended for them to show up, but then, of course, Rex is in episode 6 now, right? So
yeah, of course.
So what do you think?
I think this is mostly George. I believe. I mean, I think they're all because he was there when they were going through season 6 and season 7, presumably. So I think these are still his main storylines. I mean, Filoni in that panel, I read that he talked about the writing process, anyways, and so I mean, I think they're probably George's stories, but I mean, it's still Filoni and his team. And they're a lot of their work as well. But at its heart, I think they are essentially George Lucas's creations. Anyway. But I mean, that's what you do wonder if Filoni changed it a little bit since he's written them, since they've created them back when they were first being produced. Like, did Filoni, did he change the story a little bit to tease up Rebels? You know, are we going to see that? And I think that will be obvious once we see these episodes. I think it'll be obviously we can tell if it's been reworked a little bit now that Rebels is here. I don't know.
Yeah, because remember Rebels came pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it was almost like how much did that series start getting made while, was that always the intent to always do Rebels, even though Disney had not bought them yet? You know, was that always in the can to do next? And were they already kind of putting it together that, okay, these things that happen in Clone Wars will end and then we'll carry on some, I don't know, you know, that's
right.
It seemed like right when they bought them, canceled, we got Rebels the next year. It was like, wow. They had to have been doing something on it. I don't know. Just like Resistance. I mean, we're getting Resistance this fall. They had to have been working on this a year ago, at least, right?
Sure.
So
yeah.
I'm going to tie in, not intentional. I will admit that this was not intentional, but I'm going to tie in what I brought up earlier. I think it's possible we see Anakin inside the temple in Clone Wars.
Oh,
that part of episode 3.
Jeez, that'll be dark. Yeah, for
wow.
And tell me that ain't this. Tell me what this would be awesome if Ahsoka's in there.
That's
I just got chills.
I did too.
I just got
when you
chills.
started talking, I was thinking about this and I was getting chills.
Oh my gosh! I got chills
because
and
think about
I
it.
feel uneasy, but in a good way.
Because think about it.
Oh gosh!
The Mandalorian siege would have been over. She would have come back and maybe reported to the Jedi Temple while this whole thing with Mace and all these things happening at the Senate where he's turning. So she's there just, checking in and making sure. And then all of a sudden he does that.
Well, the only thing is I don't think that's possible because
why?
According to her, she thought he was dead. She didn't know he became Vader.
What? So in Rebels, what is her reaction when she puts two and two together?
But he's Vader, but he's not in the suit yet. He's Anakin still to her.
But I always get the impression that
she didn't know he turned.
She didn't know he was alive. I thought she assumed he died along with all the other Jedi.
You know what? I think you might be right.
What if they could do a little bit of what you're saying? Because I feel like there's something, not even a retcon. I feel like there's something there, and there's a big emotional scene there, and you can see it visually, as you were explaining.
She watches this from
she could watch it from afar. He could still have his hood on for part of this.
He does have his hood on. I think
hood
the whole
on
time.
When he walks in. Yeah. When he gets to the younglings, does he still have the hood on?
He does.
He could be there. We could see him from camera point of view. See her in the background. She could be seeing this happening
and not know who it is.
Not even know that it's Anakin.
That's true.
Now you would think
sense it maybe.
Well, like anybody who knows anybody, if I saw one of you guys from afar, you can usually tell who you are. But with the hood on.
But all these clones are fighting her. She might not have time to react. She just needs to get out. So,
oh man.
But I was just thinking of a scene where they fight each other in the temple.
My expectations are so high.
And. But I was thinking, what is there a way for him to interact with her in that temple? But you're right. I think she first. Well, see,
they can. I don't know. I think that there's probably enough there to where they can write it and make it work.
I think. Well, I think she senses in Rebels. I mean, she gets a sense of who that dark person is, and I think she finds out that the dark person is Anakin.
Yeah.
So maybe she knew that Anakin had turned, but then had heard maybe that he had died on.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, because everybody thought that Obi-Wan killed him on Mustafar.
Mustafar, yeah.
And no one really knows where this black figure came from.
Sure Obi-Wan thought he killed him. Well,
I think he might have, until he heard his name.
Yeah,
that Darth Vader is living. So Ahsoka might thought, okay, he turned, but then Obi-Wan killed him.
Maybe Ahsoka could be on Polis Massa there at the end of Revenge of the Sith. She could be in another room somewhere.
What's
Polis Massa, the asteroid where they go on at the end of Revenge
of
the Sith.
Yes.
She could be there.
I mean, she could be there.
Obi-Wan's got little Luke telling Ahsoka.
And they think and Obi-Wan says he killed Vader. He killed Anakin.
She's just in another room with Bail
Oh my
Obi-Wan and-
gosh.
You pan the camera right a little bit. She's right by the.
We are writing the series
Yeah.
right now. So just
Yeah, Ahsoka's there in the room the whole
Write that down.
time. She's watching Padme giving birth. You just move the camera a little bit. She's
Watching
she's there.
her give birth.
because that would tie in where she is when she comes in the Rebels. Because she would meet Bail. She would know that the Empire is taking over, and she would kind of go into hiding for a little while. Again, eventually, the Ahsoka novel happens, obviously, and then she ends up becoming Fulcrum. But I'm with you. I think this series, this whole thing, is about the introduction of Ahsoka, and it's about her story, her growing up. I don't think it was fully intended to do that, though. I think it evolved into that based on fan reaction to her, fan reaction to the series. I think it was. I remember Filoni even said on that panel, which was funny, is that he thought when the idea of Clone Wars came up from George, is that the Jedi and people like Obi-Wan, Anakin would be hands off because they were in the movies. That he would have to focus on unknown Jedi, new characters. But he said I remember him saying something like when he went to the first story meetings to George was like, "Where's Obi-Wan? Where's Anakin?" And they're like, "What?" So then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, we can do whatever we want."
They had really cool concept art of all the characters that he's kind of said they loosely tied to the makeup of the Rebels crew. So this is where it kind of does tie into what they were planning, but it's the characters of what the Clone Wars crew was going to look like before he knew he could use Anakin.
Oh,
Obi-Wan.
really?
I don't know if you saw that
I haven't seen
concept
that.
art. I think it's floating around online, so if you guys are listening,
yeah,
you
I
can
guess,
check it out.
that's
But it's
crazy.
kind of like this, it's a crew of, like a couple of humans, an alien, and it kind of resembles the Ghost crew. But it was what Filoni was originally going to do for Clone Wars
That's awesome.
before he knew he could use the characters we all know and love.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so final thoughts on the Clone Wars. Obviously, we'll be talking about this in the year to come. Celebration coming out. There'll be different. Do we think we get anything before Celebration
I think
of what the series? More trailers from the series.
Yeah, maybe because this one was such a teaser. Maybe we get a more proper trailer. Maybe there's I don't know what for the Disney streaming service. I just don't know when it's going to launch and how the promotion for it's going to look. Because a lot of times you see stuff for
some
Disney
reason
XD
I heard
that like promos it, and you see them release stuff on StarWars.com.
Are they promoting the streaming service right now? I didn't even
No, but
Oh.
I'm wondering how they'll promote that.
Oh,
if they'll
definitely.
just do it on Star Wars YouTube. I mean, they will, but like, in what platforms will they push out promos for that? Because Disney XD stuff, airs on Disney XD, and then you see that stuff. So,
Well, I think
It'll be
just like a
interesting.
Netflix commercial, there'll be commercials for
just drop it online.
or on television. I mean, I think you see Netflix commercials on TV where they say only on Netflix watch this series. I think they'll do that especially on the Disney channels. Definitely,
Yeah.
they'll promote. But the live action show is. I mean, I definitely think they'll promote that on the associated networks like ABC and Good Morning America and ESPN, just like they did with the movies. The live action stuff will be on maybe those shows. The animated stuff maybe on But this is unfortunately, however you're going to look at it, this is not a Star Wars streaming service. This is all of Disney,
Yeah.
so it's just a portion of it, right?
I already got 3 Star Wars titles. Well, if Resistance moves to the
Right. But
So,
I would
two
think,
streaming service.
like I'm a big fan of DC, and DC's coming out with their own streaming service, and it's
Yeah.
going to be all of this old stuff. So I got to believe all the movies are going to be on there.
Yeah.
All the Clone Wars is going to be on there, even though it's still going to live on Netflix. I hear still, right? Too,
Oh, really?
I guess. That's the last I heard.
I figured they moved it
whatever's
over.
What I heard was everything on Netflix is still staying there, but everything from now on is
or at
going to go
least
to the
until their license is
till the
up.
license comes up.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, do you think the Lost Missions? Do you think they actually rename that to season 6 and just call it season 6? Do you think this is season 7 that's coming? I mean,
it technically is,
I think
but-
it is technically.
Seven.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll title it something ambiguous enough to not give it a number.
I think you got to say season
final
7. I
chapters
think
or
it,
something like
I think
that.
you got to
Yeah.
say listed as season 6 now.
I mean,
Lost
I
Missions
think do they not list it as 6 Lost Missions or something on Netflix?
on Netflix. It's called
Yeah,
the
it
Lost
just says
Missions.
Lost
Lost
Missions.
Yeah. because it wasn't season 6. It was the Lost Missions, so it's weird.
Yeah.
So I think they rename it. I think they do season 6. But anyway, all right. So we'll talk about this more as we go on. Celebration is looking to be. I mean, Celebration is going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thanks, Cody, for hanging out, talking, getting your opinion on it.
Thanks for having me on.
Case, and just for people that I don't know how much press for Sales Guy, but we got a huge, massive storm here this past weekend. Knocked out a ton of electricity. Casey's still out of electricity. I got mine last night, so I was out 2 days with it. But people in Kentucky, a lot of our listeners are in Kentucky, so just thoughts on everybody that don't have power. But that's why we didn't record over the weekend, really. But anyway, Star Wars is always a happy note. So see you guys next week. We appreciate everybody. Go to InsideTheForce.com for everything you need. Cody's at Cody Geiler on Twitter. Give him a follow. Crypt21138 is Case. I'm D. Cottingham21. For Casey Cooley.
What is lost is often found. That is the little moral quote for season 6, Lost Mission episode 10, the lost one.
Oh.
And it's kind of applicable to these new episodes.
Return of the Clone Wars. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. We'll see y'all next week. He's Cody.
Later.
He's Case.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force, then all of us.